Kimi Avary.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests. By the time I was 13, my father and I fought so much that it was better if I went off to boarding school. I had to get out of the house. It was awful fighting with somebody who I had been very close to for years before that. I didn't know what the problem was, but it kept happening over and over again. So I left. I was 36 when he invited me back into his home to go to graduate school. He had a 2-bedroom house. And throughout those years, we still fought, but we did not live together. And here I was, within the first 3 hours, we had been in our first big fight again. And I thought, this is the worst decision I've ever made. But we settled in. We didn't fight too much. We still had blowout fights, but we didn't fight too much. And my father's house was a 2-bedroom house. So he had his computer set up in the hallway so that I was living in his office. And I would go up to him when he's typing at his computer and I'd say, "Hey, Dad, what do you want for dinner?" And he would explode out of his skin. And I thought, God, Dad, why do you hate me so much? What is wrong with me that you hate me? And of course, the evening turned into a complete disaster. Again, this happened repeatedly until I took a course called Celebrating Men, Satisfying Women. I've got my master's in counseling, a bachelor's in family studies and human development. I'm a neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner and trainer, and I still couldn't make my relationships work, especially the one with my father, until this pivot point happened. I began to see that men and women were so different. We'd be better off if we actually spoke different languages, because then we wouldn't think we were communicating. My father being in masculine mode, masculine is the provider, protector, producer energy. My father invited me, the person he'd fought with most in his life, to live with him in his 2-bedroom house. Talk about providing. I had not even seen that. It hadn't registered for me that he was providing for me. And all of a sudden I could see all the ways that he had provided for me throughout my life. He wanted to protect me. And knowing that, I began to understand more about him and cherish him. And then fast forward a little more, I learned that men are not sometimes single focused. The masculine energy is always single focused. Not sometimes, always. So it's one single focus, then the next, then the next. And in between those single focus times is what we call transition time. And as women, we look at that moment and we think, oh, I can talk to him. But sometimes the men in our life sort of jump out of their skin or ignore us or make us feel like we aren't valuable to them. That's how I'd felt with my dad. And then I learned that I was always interrupting him. So I'd walk up to his desk and I'd say, "Hey, Dad." And I'd wait. And he'd finish typing whatever he was typing. And he'd say, "Yes, Kimberly?" And I'd say, "What would you like for dinner?" And he'd say, how about spaghetti? And I would go into the kitchen and make spaghetti for dinner. And we would have an amazing meal. It was mind-boggling how that one piece of information changed everything. Women have this diffuse awareness, which means we pour into every direction. We're either taking care of kids or cooking or on the phone or doing projects, and while we're doing our laundry, we're always doing many things at once. And so interruptions it doesn't feel bad to us. It doesn't interrupt us the same way it interrupts a man. When I learned to wait and apply the respect factor with my father, I learned how to navigate a relationship with a man. I'm now married. I've been with my husband for 17 years. And I can tell you, I apply this every single day to my single focused husband. I would not be married if I didn't know this. So now, understanding the masculine and feminine dynamic allows me to spend more time in peace, more time in love, living my life in love. And that's what I help my clients do as a relationship coach. I work with men and women to help them to understand each other so that they can spend time being their spiritual best selves, so that they can live their lives in love. If you or somebody you know is having relationship challenges or has sworn off relationships but secretly wants one, you might want to talk with me and see how you can learn to navigate the differences between the masculine and feminine and create a partnership that allows you to thrive and shine and be your best self.